When you think about your financial life right now, have you ever wondered if you are actually ahead of schedule, perfectly on pace, or falling dangerously behind without even knowing it? Most people go through their entire lives without ever checking where they truly stand, almost like driving a car on a long road trip without a map, without a speedometer, and without any idea of the destination time. And yet your entire future depends on this one essential measurement, the one that silently determines whether you are financially early, financially on time, or financially late. What you are about to understand is a practical system that allows you to calculate this with complete clarity. No theories, no vague feel-good statements, just simple numbers and actions that immediately tell you where you stand and what to do next. So make sure to stay until the end and try to guess in the comments where you stand then compare to the end of the video. To begin, imagine your financial life like a clock. Not a clock that tracks hours, but a clock that tracks progress. Every dollar you save, every investment you hold, every debt you carry, every expense you allow into your life sends this clock either forward or backward. And the truth is that today there are only 3 ways that clock can be positioned. You are either financially early, which means your habits, your savings rate, your net worth, your cash flow, and your decision-making are placing you ahead of the life you expect to build. Or you are financially on time, meaning you are moving with the minimum required momentum, doing enough to survive, but not enough to accelerate your future. Or you are financially late, meaning the gap between where you are and where you should be is widening, and every month you fail to correct it makes the climb harder, the pressure stronger, and the consequences more real. Now let's begin with the first category, the one that most people dream about but very few actually reach, being financially early. And in order to understand what early really means, you need a practical definition, something measurable, something that does not rely on feelings or impressions, but on numbers anyone can calculate. Being financially early means that your money grows faster than your lifestyle. Your savings rate is strong enough to compound without interruption, and you generate more productive income than consumed income. It means you reach key milestones years before the average person. And the absolutely essential part is this: you are accumulating assets at a pace meaningfully above the minimum required pace for your age. To simplify this and make it workable for anyone, think about it like this. If by your early 20s you consistently save 25 to 35% of your income, track every expense, avoid consumer debt, and build at least one skill capable of generating extra income, you are financially early. If by your late 20s or early 30s you are consistently investing at least 20% of what you earn, maintaining an emergency fund, and increasing your income through active skill building rather than waiting for raises, you are financially early. If your net worth grows every single quarter, even by a small amount, and you have no high interest liabilities draining your paycheck, you are financially early. And most importantly, if the gap between your expenses and your income is widening because you intentionally design your lifestyle below your earning potential, you are financially early. Being financially early also means you understand that compounding rewards time. Every year you gain by starting early multiplies into something far larger later. For example, if someone invests $400 a month at age 22, their money might have over 4 decades to grow. But even if someone invests double that amount beginning in their mid-30s, they can still end up behind because the early years carry enormous weight. Financially, early people understand this and structure their lives around it. They make decisions today that their future selves will thank them for. They delay gratification not because it is fashionable, but because it is mathematically powerful. They view money as a tool for freedom, not as a ticket for impulse purchases. They set goals not based on what others do, but based on what brings stability, opportunity, and long-term control. And the most practical indicator that you are financially early is your financial independence ratio. This ratio measures how much of your monthly life could be supported by passive or semi-passive income. For example, if your expenses are $2,500 a month and you generate $800 a month from investments, rentals, dividends, online work, small businesses, or other cash flow sources, you are already covering more than 30% of your life without relying on your job. And even if that number is tiny today, the fact that it exists puts you far ahead of the average person. Most people have 0 Financially early people almost always have something, even if it is small, even if it is unstable, even if it is inconsistent. They are building the muscles required to detach income from hours worked. Another key factor of being financially early is the way you treat expenses. People who are early do not allow money to leak away unnoticed. They track essentials, question non-essentials, and design their lifestyle with intention. They understand that saving $400 a month is not about skipping pleasures, it is about buying time. They know that every unnecessary subscription, every overpriced apartment, every fancy car payment pushes them closer to financial lateness. So financially early people build systems, they automate investments, they lower fixed costs, they choose housing strategically, they treat transportation as a function, not a status object. They learn basic negotiation skills. They build emergency buffers. They avoid not only debt, but also lifestyle creep. Now let's go deeper into measurement, because being financially early is not about vague statements. It is about math. A financially early person usually hits 3 early milestones. Your net worth becomes positive within your first working years. You eliminate negative balances and start building upward momentum quickly. You achieve a savings rate of at least 20 to 30%, not occasionally, but consistently, month after month, year after year. You accumulate one core asset, either a rental property, a consistent investment portfolio contribution, or a scalable skill generating additional income. And here is the most practical test of all. If you stop working for 60 days, could you continue paying for your life without stress, without debt, and without panic? Financially early people can, maybe not forever, but for long enough that life does not collapse. This demonstrates cushion, discipline, and systems. Another practical sign is whether you experience what is known as financial pull. Financial pull happens when the actions you took months or years ago start working on your behalf. Maybe you wake up and see dividends deposited. Maybe you see your investments grow, even though you made no effort that day. Maybe an asset you built earlier continues producing value. When your past decisions help your present income, you are financially early. Most people never experience this because every dollar they earn must be traded for time. Another useful indicator is your income trajectory. If you are financially early, your earning ability increases year after year because you build skills, not because you wait for someone to promote you. You take courses, you watch tutorials, you practice, you test ideas, you try small businesses, you fail fast and adjust quickly. You learn how to sell, how to build, how to communicate, how to solve problems. And as your skill grows, your income grows. This separates you from the majority of people who rely solely on salary. Financially early also means you understand optionality. You give yourself more choices as time passes instead of fewer. Early people can switch jobs, they can negotiate, they can travel, they can take opportunities, they can decline toxic environments, they can invest more, they can start projects, they can leave projects, and they can do it because their financial base supports mobility. Being early is not about wealth, it is about position. A person with $10,000 saved, low expenses, no debt, and high skills is often earlier than someone with $70,000 saved, but high monthly obligations and no skill growth. Now let's begin laying the foundation for the next category. Financially on time. Being financially on time does not mean failing. It means you are moving according to the standard pace of financial life. You are not advanced, but you are not falling behind. You save, but inconsistently. You invest, but irregularly. You build skills, but sporadically. Your expenses fit your income. You are doing enough to remain stable, but not enough to accelerate. People who are financially on time usually have positive net worth, but no significant acceleration. Their savings rate might be around 10%. They pay their bills, handle emergencies, and grow slowly. They have some investments, but not enough to dramatically change their trajectory. They rely mostly on their job. They hope for raises rather than creating income opportunities. They live decently, but do not build optionality. They are not drowning, but they are not advancing either. And without clear intentional shifts, financially on time, people often drift into the late category without realizing it. People who are financially on time often experience a constant tension between wanting more and maintaining comfort. They know they should save more, but expenses grow. They know they should invest, but feel uncertain. They know they should build skills, but feel tired. They postpone critical decisions. They meet minimums, but never exceed them. They make progress, but never compounding progress. When you look at your financial situation today and try to understand whether you are early, on time, or late, there is a pattern that becomes very clear once you analyze the habits, behaviors, and decisions that shape the direction of your money. And when it comes to the category of being financially on time, it becomes obvious that people who fall into this group are not failing, but they are also not building momentum in a way that protects them from future pressure. Being financially on time means you move at the exact pace required to maintain stability. Nothing more, nothing less. It means your expenses generally match your income. Your savings exist, but do not grow with meaningful speed. And your investments are present, but not powerful enough to pull you forward. In simple terms, being financially on time is the midpoint between advantage and danger. A financially on time person usually has a predictable monthly routine. Income comes in, bills go out, and whatever is left is saved or invested without a real plan or structure. Instead of designing a system, they rely on habits that form naturally, which means investment deposits happen if there is money left over, not because they are scheduled or automated. These individuals are not in crisis. They pay their bills, they maintain their lifestyle, they avoid financial chaos, and they stay afloat. But they rarely see major breakthroughs. They rarely experience leaps in net worth. They rarely gain meaningful optionality. They may want more, but operate in a cycle where comfort dilutes progress. One of the strongest signs that someone is financially on time is that they operate with a short financial runway. They might have an emergency fund, but it only covers a few weeks rather than a few months. Their savings rate stays around 10% because any attempt to increase it gets consumed by lifestyle costs that slowly climb each year. When income rises, expenses rise too. When bonuses arrive, they are spent quickly. When raises come, lifestyle improvements follow immediately. There is no compounding of discipline. There is no leveraging of freed up cash. There is no deliberate effort to widen the gap between earnings and spending. This keeps them in a state of constant motion without acceleration. Another characteristic of being financially on time is a lack of income growth outside traditional employment. Most of their earnings come from their job, and skill development focuses primarily on improving performance at that job. They may take courses, attend workshops, or learn new skills, but they do so in a way that supports the employer more than themselves. Their external earning potential remains limited. They rely on promotions, company growth, or time-based raises instead of building parallel income sources that can expand their financial foundation. The result is predictable but limiting, stability without leverage. Yet the most important point is that being financially on time is a transitional state. You do not stay in this category forever. Over time, lifestyle inflation, unexpected expenses, stagnating wages, or lost opportunities tend to push on-time individuals into the late category unless they intentionally redesign their financial strategy. In other words, financially on time is not a safe zone. It is a temporary balance that can easily be disrupted. Without decisive action, without intentional planning, without disciplined improvement, the clock eventually shifts against you. And that brings us to the most critical category of all, the one that determines urgency, the one that demands immediate correction. Being financially late is not just a description, it is a measurable condition that appears when your financial life develops an imbalance between what you earn, what you owe, what you spend, and what you build. It means you are no longer on pace to meet the life you expect to live. It means you are now behind on key milestones, behind on savings, behind on investments, behind on debt reduction, and behind on income growth. And the deeper the lateness, the more the gap widens, making every future step harder, every solution heavier, and every decision more urgent. Understanding this category with absolute clarity is essential because correcting lateness requires precise action, strong discipline, and a complete shift in financial behavior. To understand lateness practically, start by evaluating your savings rate. If your savings rate is consistently below 5% or non-existent, you are financially late. If your expenses consume nearly every dollar you earn, making it impossible to invest in a meaningful way, you are financially late. If you carry high-interest debt that continues growing faster than your payments can reduce it, you are financially late. And if your net worth remains flat or negative year after year, with no upward trend, then you are not simply behind, you are losing ground. Another major indicator of lateness is the absence of productive assets. If you're in your late 20s, 30s, 40s, or beyond and do not have any long-term investments, retirement accounts, emergency funds, or income-producing skills, the lateness is not theoretical, it is mathematical. Time is the most powerful factor in compounding, and when you delay building assets, you compress the years available for your money to grow. This compression forces you to save more aggressively later if you want the same result. For example, what a financially early person could achieve with $300 a month may require $700 or $1,000 a month if you start late. Time becomes the obstacle. Money becomes the burden. Financially late individuals also experience recurring financial stress. Every unexpected expense becomes a crisis. Car repairs, medical bills, rent increases, broken appliances, job changes, or travel needs create sudden instability. Because there is no buffer, no savings, no system, and no predictability, every disruption feels like a setback. And without correction, these setbacks accumulate, turning into patterns. This is why lateness is not simply about having less, it is about lacking control. The financial environment dictates your life instead of you dictating your financial environment. Another powerful sign of lateness is lifestyle rigidity. When you cannot reduce expenses because your lifestyle has become inflated and dependent on high consumption, you lose flexibility. Your financial life can no longer adjust to your goals. You are trapped in fixed costs that restrict movement. If your rent, car payments, subscriptions, dining habits, and discretionary expenses leave no remaining margin, you cannot save even if you want to. And the longer this continues, the deeper the lateness grows. Income stagnation is another factor. If your earnings have not increased in the last several years, and you have not built new skills that significantly improve your earning potential, the path to correction becomes steeper. Financially late people often rely on a single income source that has limited growth, yet their expenses continue to rise with inflation or lifestyle choices. Without skill-based income growth, the gap between income and needs widens and the lateness intensifies. To correct lateness, the first required step is complete clarity. You cannot fix what you refuse to measure. This means calculating your total expenses with precision, identifying every recurring cost, and separating essentials from non-essentials without emotional attachment. You must determine your savings rate, your net worth, your debts, your income streams, and your monthly cash flow. Clarity removes fear because fear thrives in uncertainty. Once you see the numbers plainly, the path becomes clear. The next step is to reduce fixed expenses aggressively. Housing, transportation, food, debt payments, and subscriptions form the majority of spending. Reducing these allows you to reclaim control. This may mean downsizing, refinancing, relocating, house sharing, selling high payment vehicles, eliminating discretionary spending, or suspending non-essential purchases. The goal is not sacrifice for the sake of suffering. The goal is creating enough margin to build a financial foundation. Until margin exists, lateness cannot be corrected. After expenses are brought under control, income growth becomes the next essential pillar. This does not mean waiting for raises. It means developing skills that allow you to command higher pay, switch industries, add income streams, or create value through work that is not tied to a fixed hourly rate. Skill development is the most powerful lever for correcting lateness because it multiplies the effect of every hour you work. When you can earn more per hour, per project, or per client, your ability to save and invest increases immediately. People who correct lateness understand that the path forward requires newly created value, not just reduced consumption. Once expenses decrease and income increases, you must build a consistent investment system. This system must be automated, predictable, and uninterrupted. Even small amounts become powerful when invested consistently. The key is momentum. Financially late individuals often suffer from inconsistent habits, saving one month, skipping the next, investing sporadically, withdrawing early, delaying contributions, or reacting to emotions. Correction requires structure. Automatic deposits into investment accounts, fixed savings percentages, and a non-negotiable commitment to compounding form the backbone of recovery. Debt elimination is another major component. High-interest debt destroys financial progress because it compounds against you. Correcting lateness requires either eliminating this debt aggressively or refinancing it into lower interest forms that allow you to reduce principal faster. The goal is to stop the financial clock from working against you. Once high interest obligations are removed, your money begins compounding for you instead of against you. Another essential factor is building a financial runway. A runway is the number of months you can survive without income. Increasing your runway reduces stress and gives you the stability required to make better financial decisions. When your emergency fund covers several months of expenses, you gain negotiation power at work, flexibility in career decisions, and confidence to pursue opportunities. A strong runway prevents small problems from becoming catastrophes. The final step in correcting lateness is building future-proof habits. It is not enough to fix the numbers once. You must create systems that ensure progress continues even when motivation fades. This includes budgeting routines, investment automation, recurring skill development, annual financial reviews, and strict boundaries that prevent lifestyle creep. These habits ensure that once lateness is corrected, it never returns. And now you understand the structure. Being financially early puts you ahead with momentum. Being financially on time keeps you balanced but vulnerable, and being financially late requires disciplined correction. What matters most is action. Anyone can shift categories with the right decisions. A clear financial future is not built on guesswork. Once you know whether you are early, on time, or late, every decision becomes easier because you finally understand what the numbers demand from you. If you are early, you keep compounding your advantage. If you are on time, you strengthen your structure before drift turns into danger. And if you are late, you act with urgency and precision, focusing on the few steps that create the biggest correction in the shortest possible time. This clarity removes confusion and gives you the ability to move forward with intention instead of anxiety. The most important part is that your category can change. Every improvement in savings, every reduction in expenses, every skill you build, every investment you automate shifts your position on the financial clock. You are not locked into the past. You are shaping your trajectory now. So take control, apply the system, and use this moment as the turning point. And if you want to keep learning and strengthening your financial life step by step, make sure you subscribe and continue with the next video. Just a reminder, I'm not a financial advisor. This video is for educational purposes only, and any results depend on your own decisions and actions.